I see. I was about to say again. I say this at the start of everyone. I'm like, and we're live. Like, I think whatever's happening. Good morning,
Good morning, everybody.
People of the world. Have we switched sides again? We have, haven't we? Because I was in here first.
I was gonna say. I think this bit depends on which who's in first.
Oh, can I switch?
Oh! There we go. Let's go.
I'm going back this side. I was here first, so I deserve the front spot. Hello, people. Good morning. Jay with the most beautiful greeting to wake up to in the morning. It's the first message. Morning. How are we all doing this? I hope we had a good weekend. The sun's just about run out by the looks of things. I don't know about you. Has it been raining near you? Because we've just about run out of sun yesterday.
So literally, I actually spoke to Jay last week, and he told me about a car boot that was down in Hereford. And I chanced it. It started at 1:30, and it was sunny up until about 3 o'clock. And then on the way home, it absolutely battered it down. So, we just about got enough sun to keep us going for the entire weekend before we left.
You've absolutely been smashing out the car boots.
I don't play around. Car boot season isn't a non-play around season, mate.
I have done the opposite and not gone to a single one. And I was talking to Jack. I was talking to Jack yesterday. I think it was yesterday. I'm sure responding, so no, you never know when it was.
Could have been 4 weeks ago.
And he's done like multiple car boot hauls to me.
Yeah.
And I've seen yours. I've seen Harry's. I've seen all sorts of people at the car boots picking up. I've seen James. He's been picking up bangers. And he's at my car boots, which is extra devastating.
That's more frustrating.
Oh no, I'm gonna have to get up early, aren't I? I'm gonna have to go.
It actually makes no sense. I said this last year on Instagram, right? If you live so I live 3 hours and 20 minutes away, so I have a reason. But if you live within an hour and a half of Dunton and you're not there on a Wednesday and a Sunday and you're a full-time reseller, then just quit now. That's what you do with
I'll hang up my this was meant to be about my future plans because obviously you went last week, but I'll quit.
I mean, you should.
We can end the podcast now. I'll quit, and we'll see everyone later.
How far are you away from Dunton?
Probably about an hour, I think.
You should, mate. The fact that you're not at Dunton on a Wednesday morning and a Sunday morning is mental to me. I've been to Dunton like 4 or 5 times, right, and I have never completed it, and I have cleaned up. I've come home with van loads every time. It makes no sense not to be there.
It is
no sense.
Approximately. Hold on. It's 1 hour and 18 minutes away.
Which means it's an hour because it's rushed. It's 9:30 right now. So you're going to be there leaving at like 4 or 5.
Yeah, I have to head over the Dartford crossing.
There is no reason.
Because it's like the other side of where we had that meetup in Essex, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, so it is like North London, like, and you're obviously south or whatever. So it makes it a bit more difficult, and you've got to kind of go around. But there's no excuse. Like that place, gold. Anyway,
I'm not going to give you an excuse. I'm just going to tell you I'm not going, especially on a Wednesday. It's definitely not happening. Anyway, good morning. We've got a few people in there. Morning to the snorkel crew. Good from Andy. Morning. Jay almost got rained on his way home. Perfectly timed by the looks of things after his second car boot.
Yeah.
Jack said Dunton is like the final boss of boot sales.
It's insane.
There's actually one that's pretty close to me called Denham. That's much closer than Dunton and that. Is that the one he went to?
I think he said something about Denham. I don't know what day it's on, but it was over the weekend.
Because I went to that on a Saturday once. And it was massive. Like it's absolutely massive. But that I don't know, and all I could see was tools everywhere that were 100% stolen.
Nice.
Like 100% stolen, like they're crazy amount. But that's what they get to. So, my turn, I guess, on business and stuff like that. I don't know when we did the how we're going to get to where we are now, like the first part of this. Did I talk about as much like getting to where are we at now? I don't know.
Yeah, you spoke about it briefly. I think I've rambled for the last 2 episodes, if I'm honest, but so this one's up to you.
Okay. So just in case I didn't. So an idea of where I'm at now is I do 10 a day. I'm pretty simple. I try it. I have a reasonably good ASP, and I do pretty well doing 10 a day. but again, it's nothing crazy, right? Like it's not like I'm maxed out doing much. And my model is basically now completely based off charity shops. I don't do anything else, except some maybe sort of like if I set up a little private buy every now and then, or somehow work with a dry cleaning company every now and then, that might work out. But aside from that, it's basically all charity shops, large majority. And a massive part of it for me is, this will go into in the future, but where I am, there's very good stuff. Like it's a wealthy area. There's good stuff, but lots of stuff is expensive. Like a lot of the shops are expensive, and I wouldn't be able to function based on the prices they have at the moment. And I basically require quite a lot of deals with charity shops to make things work. And I think in total now, I don't remember. I can't remember what I told you. I think 19 or something like that. So 19 out of about 30, I think. Maybe more, maybe less. I can't remember. And that's kind of how I function. And a lot of those deals don't work like crazy deals, right? Like where, I come in, they give me everything for like £3 a piece, and it's magical, and I get all the stock. It's more, I offer them the price that I can do after to make it fair, and they can oblige or not oblige realistically. Some have good deals. They all kind of differ a bit, but that's kind of where my standard is at the moment. And I go out all day Monday, half the day Tuesday, full day Wednesday, full day Thursday, and then half a day Friday. And that basically gets me enough for the week, almost undoubtedly. But for future, I want to go up, right? That's my goal at the moment. I want to go from 10 to 15, which is not a crazy jump. And some of it is, and you can go up in increments, and people have given me realistic advice, which is just go up like 2 at a time. And the interesting thing is, I don't feel like I need to. I probably can go up to 15 pretty easily. I can accommodate for it. But right now, I haven't been able to do it. And some of that is because of inconsistency, right? So, for example, I've had to miss a day shopping here and there, and that will throw everything off. So what I've been trying to do is see how much I can buy and see if it facilitates going up to 15 a day. But right now, I think it does, but I have to hit the shops every day, else it will trickle off a little bit. Like I won't quite make it. Like I'll build up a good amount of stock, and then if I take a day off or miss a day, because, for example, I went to Devon not too long ago on a Friday. I missed a Friday. I didn't quite have the stock, and therefore I wouldn't have been able to do 15 over the weekend or on a Monday. And that all kind of balances out. So my sticking point at the moment is I want to go up to 15 in the short term. And I wouldn't say, okay, so it's not, because I do on Tuesdays, my half day consists of a meeting with you in the morning for the Reseller Group, and then a call in the middle of the day at the moment. And then I go out, and I am someone who doesn't like to make my whole thing working at the moment. Like I completely understand that you need to sacrifice to do certain things. But for example, that Tuesday afternoon, I go golfing with my friend every week, like just to arrange for so I'll stop working at, I think, 5:30, which is a reasonable time, to be fair, for most normal people. And then I'll go to the range with him and then come home for dinner after that, because we'll go for like an hour and a half. So realistically, you could say, oh, just take that off, and then you go do more sourcing, and then you'd be able to get more stuff and you'd have more time. But I like to make sure I make time for the other things I enjoy at the moment anyway. And then there's the same on Friday morning. So I'm trying to get good, which is like 3 times a week. So I go Tuesday, Friday, Sunday at the moment. I'll go Friday morning for an hour as well, to my local range as well. So realistically, the actual answer is I could sacrifice both those things, and I could go up quite easily, to be honest with you. I could add a new town on both days, and get more stuff in. But I don't want to sacrifice those things at the moment. I don't feel like I need to, is the main thing. Like, I feel like I can do it how I'm doing it, but with more efficiency. Does that make sense? Like,
do you not think that you could not sacrifice the golf stuff, right? You can keep that in, but maybe you, like, after dinner you just add in an hour of vintage sourcing, and maybe you pick up 2 or 3 items. If you could do that every day, then that can cover you. You can basically cover a day just add in a little bit of vintage sniping in, like, for an hour a day, and try and cover 10 or 15.
So how my day currently looks is normally I work till 8.
Yeah.
Pretty much every day, right?
What time do you wake up, Benji?
Normally about 9.
Yeah.
I my goal is to get up and out to the charity shops for 9:30, 10. Like, that's realistically, it normally ends up by 10. So I could have an extra half an hour back, and that would help some things. But that's my goal. It's not crazy late. It used to be way worse. We've slowly gotten a bit more efficient over time, but it used to be like I'd get up and not move for 2 hours, and then I wouldn't go out till like 11, 11:30, and it was just a mess, to be honest with you. But now, because we have loads of, like, to do both, like doing the group and doing this, it takes up a lot of time at the moment.
What I will say as well is that, like, we've compared, like, numbers, and we're at a very similar sort of, like, place in terms of the numbers, right? I'm slightly above, but I
should be ahead now,
and I should be ahead, right? But we did the numbers, and realistically, for me to be at the exact same level as you, I would have to sell like 13, 14, nearly maybe even 15, and that's to match your 10s like sales every day, right? So your quality, and obviously your cost of goods goes up a little bit or whatever, but in general your quality is very good. So you don't have to do as many to make as much money as some. Like, some of us in certain areas will struggle more to get the quality that you get, and I only find the quality that you find if I come to your area or I go on Vinted, like my local area.
You do one of your local raids on someone else's area.
So you could probably do 50. You're 50. Basically, you're like 5 behind what I do, but the similar sort of like profits or whatever. So it kind of works out that if I'm doing 20, and then if you were doing 15, we'd probably be at a similar level anyway.
Like, there's loads of ways to like skin a cat, right? That I think with this, for example, we found that camera guy the other day that had an absolutely absurd ASP, right? Like, absolutely absurd. We're looking at his ASP is like £275.
He did 10 grand in one day, didn't he? Was it 10 grand in one day? It was £9,800 in one day.
We won't dox him, but he was doing something absolutely mental, and I wouldn't think it would have been possible. But he has a completely different way of doing things and a different niche, and he does the same amount as other people I know, and makes probably, no joke, 5 times the amount of money they do, to 5 to 8 times the amount of money they do for the same amount of work, I'd assume, which is crazy. So what I could do, and if you take on a smaller scale, clothing, I could try and figure out like hiring my ASP to make more money and then do that. But I've done that.
Yeah,
I've been doing that.
Yeah,
that's been my whole thing. Realistically, is I've stuck at 10 a day for ages to iron everything out, and like figure out how to make 10 a day as good as possible for me anyway in what I'm doing. But now, in terms of time, again, just to make it clear, I go out from 9:30, 10 till 4 to 5, right? And then I come back, and I'm gonna lie to you, normally I have to take a little break just to mentally reset. And then I'll do my work, package my parcels and do my photos. And normally at that point, I'm somehow at about 8 o'clock. Realistically, I'm about 8 o'clock. And then I go home, and I have dinner, and after I'll take my time after dinner, and then basically I'll get to do my listings at some time before I get to bed. And that is my schedule, which is not good. Just to be clear, it's not good and it's not necessary, and I'm going to have to fix it, right? And it's easier said than done, because I don't want to again, it sounds so it's funny because it sounds pathetic when I say it out loud, but I don't want to like burn myself out just trying to cram everything in from a 12-hour day, because I am someone who likes to take their time and stuff like that, and I like to keep it all at a pace I can maintain. And if I just am full out 12 hours a day from like, then it will not feel good to me, and I can imagine myself that causing myself mental issue further down the line. And I don't know if you probably can speak on this, because you've thrown yourself up and then you're full out, and then it gets too much, and then you need to take a step back.
So yeah, mine was more due to the sourcing side and being able to start. So I didn't think, in general, I don't think anything really broke when I went up to 20. I think it was fine, other than I just couldn't keep up the quality in what I wanted. So this is where it really became into an interesting one, which is something that I'm mindful, and it was something to ask you as well. But when I was getting to 20, right, when I was on 15, I felt like the quality was good enough across the board, right, for the 15. But when I went up to the 20, I visibly noticed me picking up items that might have still the same profit margins I wanted, but the sell-throughs were a lot slower, right? Or it was the sell-through was a little bit quicker, but the profit margin wasn't the same that I wanted. So that was where I needed to make sure that I was keeping it up, and that was what was difficult when I was doing the 20 a day. So that was something I was going to ask you. Do you think that at 15 you could maintain the same level of quality that you're bringing to the store now? And if so, what do you think your cap is on keeping it at that quality level without having to drop a little bit?
So yeah, I could because I've been buying 15. Okay, we'll switch it. I'll stop complaining about my issue and tell you what my plan is, rather than and like how I view it. Because obviously right now I'm just like, oh, I know with my time I can't do it. I play golf 2 days a week. It's so hard. Like, fuck up, it's not. It's not. But so I've been buying 15, and right now the problem is that I could go up to 15, but I think squeezing the extra time out for the extra 50% that I'd have to do would push me over normally a little bit. Like, it would just skew everything a little bit. And especially now with the, like, if I with the group at the moment, because like we're present in all the calls and making sure everything's going well, that requires focus. And for example, I used to work during calls and stuff like that, and now I don't. I'm in the call and I'm make sure things go right. But yeah, with that, it means that I lose a bit of time there, and realistically, I could take that and do, but I'm not gonna compromise on that. So it is making it work around that, and something I've been doing a lot of is timing myself recently, and I never use the time. Okay. I've been timing myself a lot because I'm interested. So you see, it stays on my screen as well. So this is my timer from photographing yesterday. So
10.
Yeah, so it takes me about 3.5 minutes, and that was going at like an easier pace, and with some stuff that needs work. So that's like a realistic pace at the moment. Like, if you average out, you
could blast through 10 and do it in 15 minutes. But if you were to do 100, you would average out to roughly where you were going to be anyway, rather than blast. So more about continuity than trying to get through it as quickly as possible.
So yeah. So for example, that timer the other day was 25 minutes. Yeah. Because I had stuff that was ready to go. I didn't have to put too much work into it. Maybe like a quick steam or something. And then I was just going as quick as I could. And that led me to like 2.5 minutes of photos, which is not the fastest, but I like to have semi-decent photos. And I like to put in a little bit of prep and make sure things are steamed and stuff like that. To make it look good. So that can take me between 25 to 35 minutes. So let's say 30 minutes on average, right? And then if I'm doing listings, I'm timing that, and that can take me about if I'm just focusing on listings, that takes me about 30 minutes. So realistically, the 10 a day takes me an hour. That's it. And then packaging that on top of it, probably 20 minutes, because it may probably less, but generally about 20 minutes. And normally takes about a minute and a half per item, like total, in terms of picking, packing, and posting. Well, not walking to the post office, but picking, packing, and chucking the label on, right?
Yeah.
So that's where my timing is at. So it takes me an hour and a half pushing it a bit, an hour and a half, hour and 45, if you want to take a more lax approach. So I have that time easily. I easily have that time. And if we want to go up, I'm adding 50% onto that. So it will take me basically 2.5 hours, right? And that's where it becomes tight, because I'm out till 4, 5, and I've got to be home for dinner at 8. And 2.5 hours in that time period is difficult. So I'm gonna do it though, is basically my go-to here. I've been buying 15, I'm prepped for it. I'm gonna push it up, and it's a sourcing limit. But the other thing I've realized basically, which is a massive problem that would solve all sorts of things. You said Vinted, right? I have one sourcing method basically.
Yes.
And it's the most time-consuming sourcing method.
Oh yes.
It's, although it's done me well, and it's been really in my favor, and I've built relationships with these people, I'm now looking at it and I'm like, if I want to go to 20, I can't. Like, I actually can't, because I can't get more out of what I'm doing, except if I went to more towns. But if we want to maintain the current lifestyle whilst increasing our output, again, we're talking, you hear for a lot from business people that you have to sacrifice something, which is fair. I could do that. But if I wanted to maintain my current lifestyle, I could go to 15, no problem.
Yeah.
I could not go to 20. That is the limit that I've hit doing what I'm doing, in the way I'm doing it. So someone asked earlier, Donna, is it reaching your listing limit, or your business has reached its limit with eBay as you grow? These are two very interesting questions, and it's both. Because two things that I can think of to sort it, right? So right now I've hit my listing limit as such. Like I don't think I can source and list more than 15 in the way that I am doing it. So something needs to change. And a very interesting thing to me, and talking to Kaylee a lot, right? Obviously, and a lot of other people that do Vinted in the calls, Vinted is a different world, and you can pick up different items. And the reason I bring up Kaylee specifically is because she will pick up loads of things I would not pick up, that I could not sell, that she can. And that is wholly due to being on Vinted for the most part. Like her mental switch from eBay and picking up stuff for eBay to now her whole mentality is, okay, I buy for Vinted, and then eBay we cross list and see what happens, because obviously there's a crossover, but there is a whole bracket of things that you can list on Vinted that will sell in good time compared to eBay. And one of those, for example, like And Other Stories, which is a pretty general high street brand that you see all the time, but I never pick it up because it does not sell for me on eBay. Generally, it does not have the draw to it that I've found at all. Might be because
me as well.
I've sold free people. I've kind of got I've backed my head.
But like I sell it way better on Vinted.
Exactly, and there's loads of other stuff like this, and if I changed my approach to my business, which would be to switch from solely focusing on eBay, which we've talked about so many times, that what would happen if I went over to Vinted or cross-listed on Vinted or blah, 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 to, okay, Vinted is now officially part of my business. That opens up a whole new market in my head, because I see stuff quite frequently that I'm like, this would be a good Vinted, this would make sense. Like, I see that and I think about it, and that would be a way to get around pushing me up to the next level whilst maintaining what I'm doing. Doesn't fix the time problem in terms of, doing 20 a day after that. But in terms of sourcing, I'd probably be able to cut down my sourcing time technically if I wanted to, and increase what I'm picking up, because my world would be different. And that is something that's very interesting to me. And obviously you list on both.
Yes.
And you buy for eBay.
Yeah. So my world solely. So Kaylee's is she buys for Vinted, and even with down to the pictures, right? When she's listed on eBay and Vinted, the pictures on eBay aren't in square mode, which they don't prefer, and they have it like a little bit sort of cropped off at the bottom on the photos. But she does it specifically, and everything is sourced and listed predominantly for Vinted. Whereas my sole method is I do everything for eBay, and then whatever sells on Vinted will sell on Vinted, which is, in my opinion, the way that you should do it up until the point where you start picking up items specifically for Vinted. And then in that world, you would probably prioritize those listings in a Vinted listing format. That's the way I look at it.
So I think so, but again, it's been really interesting to hear other people's perspectives. Like Crystal threw it out there as well, that you should prioritize whatever platform is gonna be like care less. No, not care or care more. So, for example, title structure, right? Vinted does not give a singular fuck.
No,
you can write anything in that bitch. It will show at the, if you got a good photo, if it's got like listed in the right category ish, someone will find it and see it, because they don't even show the title. They don't even show the title on Vinted.
The point that Kaylee made though about Vinted, obviously she knows a lot about Vinted, but one of the points that she made was that the title structure becomes more important the older the item gets. So if somebody can search an item and your title structure pulls it up.
Even then, you try to search something on Vinted.
Oh yeah, it never works well anyway.
I tried to buy some shoes. I was trying to buy some like Gore-Tex Nike shoes a while back. I was copying Luke if he ever sees this, but I wanted them for a while. And I was searching on eBay and I was searching on Vinted. Obviously, eBay pulls up exactly what you want. You can filter it to exactly where you want to go. It's super simple. If you want a specific item, you can find it quite easily. Vinted, I searched it. What was coming up makes no sense. It was not what I wanted. It wasn't even close. And
eBay doing a similar thing though. eBay has started doing similar things. You type in size 10 something and size 11 start popping up for no reason.
I mean, that's fair. They did try and do a more of a recommended algorithm type thing, but it annoys the fuck out of me. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, for example, title structure, you can accommodate. eBay cares a lot about title structure. It makes a lot of sense over there. So your title structure, if you list on both platforms, should focus on eBay's title structure, because Vinted doesn't care as much. And there's a few things like that, which I won't go into, but that's how it could work. And you can mix and match to make it work on both platforms in the most optimal, way you can. But that's a very interesting point for me, is I can do that and grow my business that way, and that would also can change a completely different thing. Also, I'd make more money.
Yes.
Right. And I see this a lot, which is, and think about this quite a lot recently, is like, if I want to increase my profit by however much, yes, I can go up in listings, I can make more money that way, or I can sell more on Vinted because I'm just going to make more money. It's that simple. And both those ideas have been churning around in my head a bit, and we'll see what we do. But that's one approach I could take to.
So even in the chat, right? We've got Simon who's saying that he thinks that one platform, you should focus on one platform, which is something that you've done quite heavily, right? You focus on one platform and try to do the best of what you could. And then the next comment is Xander saying, I'm the other way, a little bit risky being in one platform because you never know what's going to happen, etc., etc. And I ultimately think that both of them are right. Like, it's such a weird concept I have in my brain, because like you said, right, the turmoil that goes around in your brain, you're an eBay man, right? Like you solely specifically do eBay. I was like that as well. But then when you start to see the power of Vinted, like I sold some shoes on Vinted yesterday that have been listed for like 4 months on eBay and Vinted, and they just randomly sold. And like, they might have just got lost completely on eBay. They might not have done, and maybe they were a bad pickup initially or whatever, but they were like £40. So like, sometimes it's like, why would it? It's such a. I'm always torn between whether you should or you shouldn't.
I've got an easy rebuttal for this.
Go on then,
Simon. Why don't you become a master at Depop and do nothing else?
Because that's not the right. Because ultimately he's picked the best, like the overall right now, the best overall platform. It is the best overall platform right now. So he's picked that one because that's where the most eyes are.
I know. But what if Vinted is the best overall platform?
It's right now. It's not, and also and also
anyway.
I would argue that it depends on what you sell. Simon is predominantly men's, Kaylee is predominantly women's, Crystal is predominantly women's. and Vinted will do well for the women's stuff. It does well for men's, but not as well. So therefore,
I don't know.
Listen, we've caused chaos.
I don't know. I think you're entering a touchy subject zone, and I don't think you can categorically say at all that eBay is a better platform.
Also, I would like just to say that Xander has got a shop. He's got his in-person shop. He's got an online store, his own online store. He also uses Vinted and eBay, and I'm not 100% sure if he uses Depop. So he's going across the board with all of it. Like, he's not just going, oh, I'm just going to list on eBay and Vinted. He's going, I've got a shop, I've got this, I've got my own store. Like, ultimately, he's trying to get as much money and as much eyes on his items as he possibly can.
Yeah, so it's okay. There's like a trade-off, right, as well. If something's going to make you more money, how much extra effort is going to require? And I think the main thing about this is it requires basically little to no extra effort. And if Simon took the approach you did, for example, which is, you could just say, I'm a master at eBay. I'm just going to focus on listing on eBay. That's what my priority is going to be. I'll take 5 minutes to cross-list the rest, and whatever happens over there happens. Fantastic.
That's exactly how I do it, yeah.
You've been shouted at a bit for that because it's I don't think it makes perfect sense, but if that's how you want to approach it and be like, okay, my focus is to be a master of one, if it takes you 5 minutes to make an extra, I don't know, it could be so much. If 30% of your business goes on Vinted, and you pay no fees on that, you're going to make an exponential amount more money.
Yesterday alone, I sold 10 on eBay and 10 on Vinted.
Yeah, and obviously you've changed a bit how you do it, so it's not quite like that anymore, which is good. And a lot of people are like that. Like Crystal's like 50-50. Other people that sell like 50-50. Kaylee sucks at eBay now, but that's fine. But that she's obviously gone through some big troubles there, and she's making it work a lot better than she used to be honest. Vintage not a side hustle, not an add-on, not an inferior platform. You need to get that out of your head and click, and you'll make more money. But so yes, we can have this. We can actually have a full-on debate about this another day because I think it would be very fun. And obviously, people feel all sort of way about it. But there is a massive thing to be said for mastering your craft. And this is something I was telling you or talking. I can't remember. I did say this to you. I've been listening to a lot of Alex Hormozy just indirectly through shorts, and I'm not like, I don't follow. I used to watch all these sort of entrepreneurial influencer type people, but he said a few things that have clicked with me recently, and one of those things was people get to level 3 on something in like a business, and then they'll stop and start another business and get to level 3 over there, rather than figuring out how to get to level 5, 6, 7, 8 in the one that they started first. Because it requires effort, it requires more to break through, and it requires consistency. And people like to hunt the new shiny thing. So on that note, I think in business like that, it's interesting because you can probably take something and focus enough on it where you can scale it massively. But there's we'll bring it back. Actually, what we can do, we'll bring it back round to me.
Go on, it's all about Benji.
It's about me. I started talking about me, not start a war. Bring it back round to me is you can focus on one thing and it can work well for a substantial amount of time. But then, for example, right now, charity shops have worked fantastically for me. And it's fueled my model and the success of my business very, very well. Now, going forward, it doesn't make sense anymore. It just doesn't. I can't put in this like any more the same amount of time and get better results. So to do that, I'm gonna have to change how I do things. And what that looks like 90% of the time is I'm gonna have to diversify how I'm doing it. I could find a completely new method and that be my sole thing. But if you look at everyone that sources quite a lot of stuff, I think the most optimal thing to do is have a load of little things pile on top of each other. And for example, if I strip back my charity shop routes, only went to the places that really, really brought me good results every single time, ditched all the rest, bought in Vinted sniping or online buying, eBay, Vinted, anything like that, picked up car boots, but that's like inconsistent to me. So I don't know how I feel about that sometimes. And then bought in like private buying and focusing on that more and trying to get more out of that, and then work the deals, and they all comes together to be a much bigger thing. And I'm getting much more stuff. It's taking me less time or the same amount of time, and it's a much more efficient way to do things because I'm adding all these things together that are going to give me the best outcome.
I think if you sorry to interrupt, but I think if you take me as your example piece of like trying to move up, like realistically, if I was to lower my quality of items picked up, I could have maintained the 20, right, in the charity shops. And you won't find a bigger advocate for charity shops than me. I went on to Luke and James's podcast and told everybody how much I love charity shops. Like, I am the charity shop man. I fucking love them, right? But ultimately, to get the same level of quality with a higher number of like consistency, it's just, if you're a one-person band, then you are limited by time. And then you're limited by what's donated, the prices that you can deal, and the quality that's there. And even if you take the fact that I've got Tasha on board as well, and she does exactly the same, then you're limited by your own knowledge, the quality, the consistency, and the time. And ultimately, you're going to hit some kind of roadblock. I've sat on Vinted before, and within 2 hours, I've got 30 items, which I would consider those the topper end, the higher end of the quality that I was able to pick up at charity shops, because I'm direct and pinpointing what I want from Vinted. So ultimately, you have to add extra little bits and pieces, otherwise you naturally will get capped. And like I said, time is one of the biggest things that I've realized and stuff since I've wanted to move up, is just, if you're putting all of your times 9 to 5 into charity shops, you are limited then, because obviously if you still have to do the pictures and the listings and everything else, you're so limited on time, and it makes it so difficult. So you have to add something.
So yeah, you either need to do one or two things. Mine is I work later. Like I'll do my photos and I'll do my listings at night.
I get up earlier, and that's my way. Yeah.
Or you shift forwards and you go, I'm going to wake up early, get all my work done before Vinted happens, or before Vinted, before I go sourcing, go out sourcing, maybe do a little bit there, and then it's bedtime. Like for you.
Well, yeah, but ultimately they're big changes to your lifestyle. And if you want to keep your lifestyle the same, ultimately you have to change the hours in which and the pinpoint accuracy of what you want to pick up.
Yeah, so I am a big advocate for just figuring it out, right?
Yeah.
Like you bash hard against the wall and you're like, I'm going to run through it by just working harder and working longer. I'm very much sit here and like, especially now I have the time kind of, because I'm not too high up and I'm not doing too many listings to figure it out. Like I can be like, okay, how do I make more out of what I'm doing? I just want to make my time more efficient. I want to get more out of my time. I want to achieve more in the same amount of thing, but do it by putting in basically the similar effort and get more results. And that is a very greedy way of doing things, by the way. And a very like it is much simpler to go, okay, I just wake up earlier. I cut golf down. I work full days on Saturdays, all this sort of stuff, and boom, I'm there. Right, I'm up. But again, you reach another limit, and then you're full out, and you don't have time to figure out how to go back and reassess everything. So I want to do that now when I can, and my goal with this business is not to have the biggest business out there, right? It's not to have the biggest business in the world or start an empire on eBay or reselling empire when I'm doing it. Might happen. It's not my goal though. My goal with this is to have a consistent cash flow thing. Like it's to have something. I was saying this to my friend yesterday. And I think I basically I'm at 35-40k right now, realistically, in terms of thing, which is above average salary. I work for myself. I have flexibility. It's nice, right? I'm not pushing myself crazy hard. Life's good. I want to be at 70 to 100k. 70 is like minimum. I want to double, basically. That's my goal. And then I feel like I'm at a more comfortable stage of life. That's where money becomes a bit less of like more freeing. In my head, yeah, you can push the bigger numbers, but there's actually a statistic somewhere that if you're 70k is like the happiest you can be in terms of earnings or something like that, because at that point it then becomes a game of managing your money, and that becomes more stressful, and then you get caught in a cycle of making more and more money, and that becomes more and more stressful and like takes a lot more time. But yeah, 70K feels like a good financial number, and obviously things are getting more expensive, but generally I think at that number you're comfortable enough. You could be comfortable at a lower level. If you're in Newcastle like Haley, I could be comfortable on about 50 quid. It's very different, but that's my goal, because my goal is always I always want to follow whatever my interest is at the time. But what I've never done is build a business to the point where it's stable and consistent. And I've been consistent in this for a long time now, but I need to push past, keep going further until it reaches a point that I don't need. I like it will sustain me and do everything else I need it to do and allow me to venture into other stuff. Because I would love to, for example, if I get, I've done multiple stints of writing down just business ideas on random things that interest me. And it'd be so fun to have a stable business, have some, to be legit, the Newcastle slander. People, have the stable base, have a stable amount of cash flow, and be able to take that and redeploy it into different things that I find interesting at the time. I think could be a good idea.
Do you not think? Are you not at that point now? Then, like, if you not got money that you could siphon through to something else,
I could, but it's minimal, right? Like,
so
if I want
more,
to invest like tens of grand into something, I could not.
No,
I mean, I could not. Like, especially I'm in the privileged position to still be living at home and not paying for too much. Like I probably fork out close to like 800 to $1,000 a month in terms of actual living expenses generally. And it's not nothing, but that's kind of where I'm at, and it's allowed me to save money. But if I want to take 10 grand and throw it at something because I think there's a chance of it working, I cannot. I'd be done in very, very quickly. It would be over with. And for example, like you've had to take what you've saved up, bring it in, and push that into your growth. Wouldn't it be lovely to do that without having to like really feel panicked that you have to make it work?
Yes. I don't feel panicked about anything. In my head, I've got it all mapped out, but there is an element of stress that comes along with it, because ultimately it does need to work out, especially if you've got two people relying on you. And obviously I'm relying on myself as well. Like, there does add that element of like stress levels and importance to it. But again, in this game that we play of life and what we're doing with it, I could lose everything tomorrow and start again with 50 quid. Now, obviously, I'm not going to start at the same level, but I could start it all over again, and within 2 years, I'd be back at the same. It probably less, because I know
it would be way less. We discussed the two podcasts. We don't get that much faster.
It'd be way less. But so ultimately, like, I feel like right now you can be like, even yourself, like, you could be so much riskier with everything that you're doing. Because even if you reset your business to zero, within a year's time, you'll be not
in that time you lose your house and your family can't eat well, and so you can reset to zero and be like, we'll be fine, we'll get back there. But in the meantime, there's some consequences to being knocked down to zero. Also, I just wanted to go back to the Newcastle slander. It wasn't slander. I'm just saying it's nice.
I'd love everything to be that cheap.
I think it's fantastic. I think that's winning up there, because you can do the same thing I'm doing, but live a way better life. Like, I think that's just a win. But yeah, so I don't even know if I really have made a plan out of this. I don't know. Have
you got a reference for time in terms of when you want to do this, or have you not like thought that? Because I know you're a big thinker, right? but I also sometimes just like things to be done. So what's your thought process in terms of time?
So 15, after timing myself on different things, is something that is on track to happen now. Like it's like an imminent change that we're gonna go up, and it should work out, and we're gonna make it work. Like I've been, so the two things I did, Xander said it earlier at some point about distractions. I can't remember when there's been so much chat about that guy. I don't know where it's gone. But I'm trying to grab myself out of all of that, because a few things I've realized recently. Everyone can list more, but procrastination takes over social media and stuff like that. I've been dragging myself fucking feet first out of the darkness. Like I've been trying my absolute hardest to pull myself out of that and regain the ability to focus more, because I think it's so easy to get sucked in. Like it is a very, like, the way in which you digest stuff like that now, I'm reasonably strong-willed, but you go into like a daze. the screen goes up, screen goes up, and it just keeps going up, and you're like, I don't know where you are. Oh, funny.
2 hours have passed.
That's like that days, but it's not just the days that you lose time on, it's your ability to focus on longer stints. And I realized a lot, I don't have so much quiet time anymore. Like there is barely any points in my life ever where there's no sound, like there's no something in the background. So all my times recently, photographing and listing, except for yesterday where I was watching Masters, been in silence, like just on task, and focused, right? Like to draw the ability back out. Because I used to sit and read for an hour a day, and it wasn't like reading like a lot of the girlies read. It was like non-fictional, not as fun fantasy type stuff, which required, again, you focus on the book. That's all you're doing in that moment, is focusing on that one thing. There's nothing else going on. And I've been really trying to bring that back to my life. And even like middays, like for example, if I had lunch, I'd then maybe I'd go on Instagram, I sit and scroll for a bit, and I'd waste my time. And it sucks up half an hour compared to, lunch being 20 minutes and half an hour is a total. I have lunch for 20 minutes, and then I have another half an hour absolute bollocks. Although it might be fun and entertaining, at that point in time, it completely takes you out of your momentum, which is another massive thing. And I drag myself out of that. And to do that, I've been using work mode on my phone, where it just removes all my apps except what I need. And that's been massively beneficial to me. But in terms of time frame, so that should be an imminent change, and I've been working to try and make sure I'm capable of that. And with the timings I can now do, it makes sense. Like, so
you've oversourced. Have you overdrafted to just give yourself a little bit of an ease and entry, or are you still drafting or listing the same amount that you have been? Have you chucked an extra?
The same thing I have been, but I've been working on making that look as quick, as efficient as possible. So therefore, if I do need to do the rest, it will work out, right? And it shouldn't be too much of an issue. But I've been doing a lot of that, and now I feel very confident that I can get it all done. Kind of. I think this thing still, we still teeter on the edge of sourcing, but we're gonna have to. I think we've got it down. And if I can implement some other stuff into my sourcing, just one or like a little bit of something.
Dunton once a week on a Sunday.
If it's going to car boots, so be it. Just something else to throw in there to bring it back out, and I think that'll be fine. But long term, I am very much of the opinion that I am not against hiring early. So, for example, you've hired James hella early, to maybe some to a ridiculous point. For some people, but to me, it's like what you're doing makes a lot of sense in my head. Long term, yes. John, for example, is someone who struggles with. I don't know if he'll mind me saying, to be honest with you, but I'm going to say it. Sorry, John, if it's a problem. But he basically struggles with like chronic fatigue type problems, And he used to be the most like driven person ever. And he was a workaholic. That's all he did. And then he had this and like forced him to slow down. And he kept trying to like force his way there himself. And it kept just backfiring on him. And it's a really interesting story.
Yeah, because I think he said he worked for like 2 months, like a month, like solid, really hard work, and then he couldn't do anything for a couple of weeks, and it basically becomes for no reason, right?
Oh, it's not even a month. It was like, it's like however much he works, it was like paid back like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
So like one day he'll lose like 2 or 3 days, which is it's crazy to have to deal with. But he's basically gone around as it himself as many ways as possible and tried to make it as efficient as he can himself. And in the end, his wife's come in to help him, and it's changed everything. And again, I don't know if you mind, I'm just going to carry on talking about you, John, if you don't mind. But he used to get so grumpy at stuff. Like he'd get annoyed at eBay, he'd get annoyed at the sales and stuff like that. And now, the last time I spoke to him, he's loving life. His wife came in. She basically he buys all the stuff. He'll line it all up. She comes in one, I think Friday or something like that, bangs out all the photos for him, and he just lists throughout the week, and it's perfect. And they're making more money. He's switched to pretty much solely Vinted, I think, because that platform makes more sense to him.
Yeah,
and it's working very well for him. And his whole life changed because he brought that one person in, and he's now capable of more with more time back and without the consequences of all that sort of thing. And I am not against that myself. Obviously, it's not in the same capacity, but like, for example, if I get to 30 a day or the ability to source 30 a day, but don't quite have the time, and I could push myself to get the time, I'm more inclined to be like, hey, I'll bring someone in to photograph once a week or twice a week. I'll have all my stuff set up. They come in, they bash out photos for, 2 days. I've got all my photos. I can focus on sourcing, and then I can just list whenever that works out. I am not against doing that at that level. And we talked about it last week with you. And you could bring like a VA to do the listing side of things. But I think the photographing is very easy. And that so yeah, and then eventually I think what happens with me is I do that, and then we see where we're at, and then if I figured out a sourcing thing by then and I can scale it, then I might bring someone in to do something else. Maybe we take out the listing side of things with a VA, and then if I'm still sourcing, fantastic. And maybe eventually someone takes over my job of sourcing, right? Like if I have these things set up, I'm like, hey, you just need to go here, collect this stuff. They know what you want. Obviously, you have to be somewhat aware of what you're paying for things and what things are. But if I've set things up for you right, then fantastic. You can step into those shoes. I just manage everyone. And then I've freed up my whole time to go, like I said, do something else. And obviously the business will need to be at a much bigger stage at that point in time. So 30 a day for me would be basically.
Do you think you could ever outsource the whole business, and therefore you don't do anything? So you outsource the photos, the listings, and the sourcing, and then you're basically just free to do whatever you want elsewhere.
I think it feels weird, but it's like I think anyone that runs their own business is always got a foot in the door, right? Like it's very difficult to fully step away and not have any part in it, because you are still in charge, right? And but realistically, if you get to the point where there's minimal problems and things are working efficiently and you can just have people step in for your roles, this is a business at the end of the day. And all businesses, there's people that buy businesses day in, day out. They just buy the business. The people are in place. They hire the right people. They input the right people, and boom, off it goes. And that's just something that runs by itself pretty much. And their job is just to juggle some stuff, and that's a skill in itself. But there's people that own loads and loads of businesses, and that's their form of investment. They buy businesses and get money that way and grow them and stuff like that because they're very capable and they've got teams that are built around that. Obviously, we're talking quite high level shit right now. It's miles away from anything I'm doing. But if we're talking like long-term future plans, I'd love to be in a position where that's more my job than anything else. Instead of being so involved and stuff like that, I can gradually, each step up I can take a step away as well. And you get to a point where your life's in a pretty good place, in my opinion.
I was only asking because I in my head, I think if you wanted to step away from this, and then specifically with the eBay and side of things, if you wanted to step away from this and go to another business, in my head, this business has to cease before you can do it. Because in my head, I don't think it would, like, it's just a weird one, but in my head, I don't think it runs the same way without you there. And if you know what I mean, in my head, it just doesn't make sense. And I feel like you'd have to cease to exist and then use all of your money into something else. Like you'd have to sell everything and just start again at something else. But I guess you could do it. I just don't know how.
Of course you can. Of course you can. Like okay, Jay said you'll never find someone that cares as much about your business. You don't need to find someone that cares as much about your business. Like it's like, for example, like they just need to do a job, right? And if you pay them well and they're happy in the position they're in, then they're doing their job correctly, then they don't need to care as long as they're doing their job, right? Like I'm not expecting to hire a team that's super passionate about our goal and the future of this business, guys. We're going to change the world and we all need to be on board with the vision. Like I don't need any of that. I just need, like, you're happy with taking photos? Fantastic. You're smashing it. You did an amazing job. You're doing it better than I did. You're super fit. Like, great. You're doing listings. You're a faster typer than me. You can actually bash them out faster than me. Fantastic. You know the principles. Good. You got it. And then I think the one would be bringing the person that manages all the other bits. But like, you don't need that. It's not a problem that they don't care as much about you unless you've got like a baby. But it doesn't mean it's easy, right? Like this is not by any means like an easy thing to do that I'm just throwing out there. It would take a lot of time, a lot of effort, and probably a lot of fails before you get it right. And that's where you want to go. So yeah, that's a long-term goal. We'll see if we get there one day, because I think it also, the other thing that takes is a lot of proactiveness, right? And I'm not good at that. I'm not good at foresight. I'm not good about really caring about things super long term. I find it really hard to make like mental long-term investment with things. I kind of go day to day and deal with whatever it is step by step. And that's a fault of mine generally. So it may be difficult as we go along, but that's the goal. That's where we want to end up being. And to do that is 1,000,001 steps in between now and then. But I think we're on the right path-ish. I don't know if you, obviously, I don't know if you have like a long-term vision of what the business looks like, because yours is involved a lot, but what, in 10 years time, are you just out? Or so
my brain works in mysterious ways, brother, and I have this issue between wanting to make millions and just moving away in a van and living in some other country, right? Like that's kind of the two visions I have with where I want to go long term. But ultimately, every time I find an ounce of time, I'm filling it with something else. And then I complain about my time management and the amount of stress and time that gets put into this whole thing, right? And ultimately, I'm starting to realize that slowly starting to realize that if I just do this for 10 years and I make enough money to just go and buy a van and just do whatever I want for however long, I don't know how I feel about not having or having all of the time available to me again. Like I would fill it with like activities and doing all these other sorts of things, right? But ultimately, it's not the same. There's no real level of stress there. There's no real like, and ultimately, I enjoy stress as well. I've always said like the 55% level of stress in my head is a good thing. Like it makes me do the things I need to do. 55 to 65. If you're in that sort of range,
you want to be half stressed at all time.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
That is not good for your
if I'm not, I feel like it takes away a little bit of my I don't know. I need it. I just need it. But ultimately, I don't
need it. No one needs any of that. It's not food, water, and stress. Those are not the three things that make a healthy living.
So right now in my head, I want to continue with the dream of buying a camper and disappearing, right? But I ultimately believe that at some point, because I love what I talk about it so much, like this is the thing that I found that I love, that I'm the most passionate about, I've ever been passionate about. So ultimately, even when I get to that point in 10 years time where I feel like I want to just go in a van and do it, whatever, there probably will, I'll have just basically turned off the whole entire business, and I'll just run it as like a very small, like £1,000-2,000 a month, sort of like I'll nip around charity shops while I'm out in Scotland or whatever, and I'll pick up a few bits. I think there'll always be an element to it. I'll still hit car boots and stuff, but I think I'll just die down. It's either I'll die it down completely, or I'll have turned it up to trying to do the most I possibly can. I don't know. I'm not interested in any other business,
right? Because like you didn't know you'd be doing this 4 years ago. Well, 3 years ago, right? Like I don't know. It's like
about 3 years ago, just before 3 years, yeah.
And you told me before, if someone came and told you, hey, I've got this opportunity for you, you're going to step into this and you're going to do all this, and you'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? So you have no idea.
Oh, yeah. No clue.
Like you can have a plan, you can have a long-term plan,
Yeah.
you can set up all these goals, and you can make it all work. And I think you have you want to progress, like it's the main goal, right? Like your goal should be progression of some sort. But you do not know where life's going to take you. Like I did, like we started this group, right? I never saw that coming. I wasn't sitting here plotting like I'm going to start this at some point and it's going to be great. And like, because there's an opportunity. No, it's like, okay, this makes sense to do now. So I'm gonna take this opportunity and try and build something that I like. And it's been great so far. But I didn't know it was coming. I didn't know I was going to meet you. And now we got a podcast. I don't know anything. I don't know what's going to happen.
We hadn't even met. Like it's only been a year since we've actually known each other, and now we've got the Reseller Group and we've got the podcast together already.
We've got 40 people in here who I never knew before listening to me absolute chat shit out of my ass, and I appreciate them all because I didn't know I was going to be here because it's cool. Like as Xander just told us, we hit 200 subs.
Hey.
Thank you, everyone. Feel free to subscribe if you want to be part of that. But I didn't know any of this was coming, and I know a lot of people that I've never knew before in my life, and you never know where you're going to be. A week could be doing something completely different.
Oh, like, 100%.
You could have a rubbish truck empire in 7 years' time, and you could be collecting waste from around the country. You could be under a bridge. It could be the complete opposite.
We've talked about it before. There's potential for it, yeah, for sure.
But there's so many different places you can be. Like again, it's all well and good planning all these things, and things move fast and change fast and come around fast. And I'm not like that old, right? But the older you get, the more it happens. And life changes fast. So
you're happy with the short-term goals. I've got a vision of the long-term goals, but ultimately, like you said, right, 12 months ago, I didn't know I was going to be starting a group and doing all these other things. So I guess ultimately you're never going to know, but you can have some kind of idea of where you want it to go. I might find something that I really enjoy as well, and I'll start a new business on something else as well. Like there's loads of different things that could happen for sure.
You literally never know. And like, and I think that's part of the exciting thing, right? Like you don't, and you could end up anywhere. But I think, like you said, it's good to have a general target in mind of what you want your life to look like, and how you want things to play out. And it is probably a topic for a different day, but like the relationship you have with work and business and how that impacts you and your family in the future. Like, for example, I haven't got a family yet. What does that look like then? I'm gonna have kids. That could be a whole different world. God knows. But it's cool. And I like doing this. I appreciate everyone here. It genuinely makes me happy. Like it brings I get excited being here, and doing these new things. And I hope that comes across. But yeah, generally appreciative of all of it so far. And we'll strive to go bigger and better. Got to keep pushing.
We could have 1 million subscribers on the podcast. Who knows?
I'll be impressed. But yeah. That's kind of. I don't know if I actually realistically gave a solid plan of anything.
You're going up to 15, and it's going to be within a few weeks maybe, and then yeah,
and then I'm going away in July for three weeks, so that's going to be an interesting one as well.
That's going to be a fun one.
So yeah, but I think that concludes. Unless you've got anything else to add.
Just there's a code in the description for the Reseller Group, 50% off your first month. We love it. We love it, and all of our members love it as well. So
the shameless plug at the end.
I'm plugging it. I'm just letting you know. There's a few people in the chat that are in the group. They all enjoy it. We enjoy it. It's probably the best thing that I've been a part of creating. I love it. Done.
I'll just say there's been loads of chat engagement today, which I haven't got to because I've just been talking. But genuinely, I'm pretty sure Chris was reading most of it, and I was looking at it as a go. It's been great. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
and
all the comments in the chat.
We'll see you next week for who knows what topic, but we'll see. Let's hit with the outro.